The gavel slammed down, sending a shockwave through the crowded courtroom in Willow Creek, Texas. There I stood, Deborah Thompson, in my tailored black suit, files in hand, ready to argue for my wife Legacy's inheritance against a greedy cousin who claimed she was unfit due to her lifestyle. But the real bombshell was sitting in the gallery. My mother, Margaret, the woman who had slapped me so hard 8 years ago that I still felt the sting, now glaring at me like I was the devil herself. My heart pounded as I adjusted my notes, Legacy sitting right behind me at the plaintiff's table, her eyes filled with quiet trust even though fear flickered there too. She squeezed my hand quickly before I stepped forward, her touch grounding me in the chaos. The judge cleared his throat. "Miss Thompson, you may begin your opening statement." As I walked to the podium, my mother's stare burned into me, dragging me back to that rainy night 8 years ago like a hook in my chest. I was 22, home from college for the summer, thinking Legacy and I could steal one more secret evening together in my childhood bedroom. We had been so careful, or so we thought. Her laughter still echoed in my memory as we lay on my old quilt, fingers intertwined, whispering about a future far from this small town. Then the door flew open. Mom stood there, face twisted in horror. "What in God's name is this?" she screamed. Before I could speak, her hand cracked across my cheek, the slap so sharp it knocked me sideways. "Loving another woman? You are disgusting. Get out of my house right now. I have no daughter who chooses sin like this." She shoved me toward the door, my suitcase already waiting in the hallway like she had planned it. Rain poured down as I stumbled onto the porch, Legacy watching from the window with tears streaming, her hand pressed to the glass. I left that night with nothing but the clothes on my back and a heart shattered into pieces. No goodbye, no explanation, just the sound of the door slamming behind me and Mom's voice echoing, "Don't ever come back." The memory hit me so hard I nearly missed my cue in court. I gripped the podium, forcing my voice steady. "Your Honor, this case is simple. Legacy Hayes is the rightful heir to her late uncle's estate under the clear terms of his will. The cousin's claims of undue influence are baseless attempts to steal what doesn't belong to him." But even as I spoke, I could feel the whispers ripple through the gallery. Old neighbors from my childhood, the same ones who had gossiped after Mom kicked me out, now stared like I was a ghost. The past wasn't just haunting me. It was sitting front row, ready to explode. I glanced at Legacy again. She gave me a small nod, the same gentle smile that had pulled me back from the edge years later. But today, defending her inheritance meant facing the woman who had taught me that love could cost everything. And I wasn't sure if I was strong enough to pay that price twice. By the time the morning session ended, my hands were shaking. The judge called a recess and I stepped into the hallway, Legacy right beside me. "You were brilliant," she whispered, but I could see the worry in her eyes. She knew what this town did to us before. 8 years ago, after Mom threw me out, I hitchhiked to Dallas with $20 and a broken spirit. I slept on friends' couches, worked double shifts at a diner, and told myself every night that the pain would fade. It never did. I threw myself into law school like it was salvation, burying the memory of Legacy's face at that window under textbooks and all-nighters. I even dated a guy once just to prove to myself I could be normal. But every kiss felt like betrayal. The denial ate me alive until I finally admitted the truth in a quiet dorm room at midnight. I loved women, and no slap from my mother could change that. Now here we were, back in Willow Creek because Legacy's uncle had left her the family trucking business and a house worth millions. Her cousin, Harlan, contested every line of the will, dragging in old rumors about her unstable lifestyle. I took the case the moment she asked. It wasn't just about money. It was about proving we belonged together, no matter what this town thought. But seeing Mom in that gallery cracked something open. During the recess, I spotted her outside the courthouse, smoking a cigarette the way she always did when she was furious. Our eyes met across the parking lot. She didn't wave. She just turned away, the same rejection as that rainy night. Legacy touched my arm. "Deb, we don't have to do this if it's too much." But it was too late. The secret was already leaking out, and the storm I had run from 8 years ago was circling back with full force. The afternoon session dragged on with witness testimonies that felt like knives twisting in old wounds. Harlan's lawyer called an old high school teacher who remembered the incident with vague disapproval, hinting that Legacy had always been a bad influence. I objected every chance I got, but the damage spread like whispers in the hallway. By the time court adjourned for the day, my head throbbed. Legacy and I drove to the little motel on the edge of town, the same one I had passed on my way out 8 years ago. We didn't speak much at first. She just held my hand as the Texas sun dipped low, painting the fields gold. "Tell me again why we came back," she said softly. I laughed bitterly. Because running away didn't work the first time. That night in the motel room, the flashbacks wouldn't stop. After Mom kicked me out, I had crashed with a distant cousin in Dallas for 3 months, lying about why I left home. Family disagreement, I called it. The truth burned inside me. I missed Legacy every single day. Her laugh, her way of tilting her head when she listened, the way she made me feel seen. But I buried it. I told myself I was protecting her by staying gone. Law school became my escape. I graduated top of my class, landed a job at a big estate firm, and built a name for myself as the lawyer who never lost a contested will case. Clients trusted me because I fought like someone who had everything to prove. Then 3 years ago, fate slammed us back together at a legal conference in Austin. I almost didn't recognize her at first, but when she said my name across the crowded ballroom, the room tilted. We talked for hours that night, coffee turning into dinner, then walks along the river until sunrise. She told me how my sudden disappearance had broken her, how she had waited for a letter, a call, anything. I admitted I had written one but never sent it, too scared of Mom's threats. The guilt nearly swallowed me whole. But Legacy forgave me. "We were kids," she said. "Now we're choosing each other." 6 months later we got married in a small ceremony in Dallas, just us and 2 friends. No family. No drama. Until now. Back in the present, Legacy curled against me in the motel bed. "Whatever happens in that courtroom tomorrow, I love you, Deborah. That's not changing." Her words should have comforted me, but they only stirred the guilt deeper. I had denied our love once to survive Mom's wrath. Could I really protect her inheritance without dragging us both through the mud again? The next morning, court resumed with a bombshell. Harlan's side subpoenaed my mother as a character witness. When the bailiff called her name, my stomach dropped. Margaret Thompson took the stand in her Sunday best. Hair perfectly set, voice steady as steel. "I've known Legacy Hayes since she was a teenager," she said, eyes avoiding mine. "She was always leading my daughter astray." The courtroom gasped. Legacy reached for my hand under the table. I stood up. "Objection, Your Honor. Relevance." But the judge allowed it, and the past spilled out like poison. Mom described that night in detail, the slap, the words, the rain. She painted me as the weak one who chose sin and left. Every word was a fresh cut. I cross-examined her myself, voice shaking at first but growing stronger. "Mrs. Thompson, did you ever ask your daughter why she loved Legacy? Or did you just decide it was wrong and throw her away?" The room went dead silent. Mom's face paled. For the first time in 8 years, she looked at me, really looked, and I saw something crack behind her eyes. Guilt? Regret? I couldn't tell. But the secret was out now. The whole town knew Deborah Thompson was back, married to the woman she was disowned for, fighting for their shared future in the very courtroom where her life had shattered. The judge called another recess. Outside, Legacy pulled me into a quiet corner. "You didn't have to do that," she whispered. But I did. The denial that had cost us 8 years was finally burning away in public. And I wasn't sure if my mother would ever forgive me, or if I even wanted her to. The tension in Willow Creek thickened like the summer humidity. By day 3 of the trial, local news trucks lined the courthouse square. Old classmates messaged me, some supportive, most shocked. "Didn't know you were back with her," one text read. I ignored them all. Inside the courtroom, the real war raged. Harlan's lawyer kept circling the past, trying to prove Legacy's unstable relationships made her unfit to run the trucking business. Each question felt aimed at me too. I countered with financial records, character letters from Legacy's Dallas colleagues, and expert testimony on estate law. But every night after court, the weight pressed harder. Legacy and I would sit on the motel balcony, sharing quiet dinners, her head on my shoulder. "Remember our first real date after we reconnected?" she asked one evening. How could I forget? We had driven to a quiet park outside Austin. No pressure, just us talking about everything we had lost and everything we still wanted. She had taken my hand and said, "I never stopped loving you, even when you disappeared." That moment healed cracks I thought were permanent. Now back in the town that had torn us apart, those memories kept me fighting. On the stand the next day, Harlan's cousin testified about moral clauses in the will, twisting old town gossip into evidence. I objected fiercely, but the damage lingered in the jury's eyes. During cross, I asked him point-blank, "Isn't this really about punishing Legacy for loving a woman you don't approve of?" The judge sustained my objection, but the point landed. That afternoon, Mom lingered in the hallway after testimony. I couldn't avoid her. "Deborah," she said, voice low, "this isn't what I wanted for you." I laughed, sharp and bitter. "What you wanted was for me to be someone else. You slapped that girl out of existence 8 years ago." She flinched. For the first time I saw her as human, not just the monster who had pushed me into the rain. She had lost her only child that night too, buried under pride and fear. But the wound was still raw. Legacy waited for me outside, and when I told her what Mom said, she simply hugged me. We don't need her approval anymore. Yet I did, in some buried part of me. The denial I had forced on myself to survive had poisoned everything. Court dragged into the 4th day with more witnesses. An old neighbor swore she saw Legacy and me holding hands years ago, calling it unnatural. I dismantled her story with calm precision, but inside I was screaming. That night, Legacy and I walked the quiet streets of Willow Creek, past my childhood home where lights still burned in the kitchen. Mom's silhouette moved behind the curtains. I stopped staring. "She never even tried to find me," I whispered. Legacy squeezed my hand. "But you found yourself. That's what matters." Her words echoed as we returned to the motel. The secret that had shaped our lives was no longer hidden. The town knew. The court knew. And my mother could no longer pretend her slap had erased me. The real confrontation was coming, and I wasn't sure any of us would survive it unchanged. The turning point hit on Friday morning when Harlan's lawyer called me to the stand as a hostile witness. The courtroom buzzed. I swore in, heart hammering. Legacy's eyes locked on mine from the front row. "Miss Thompson," the lawyer began, "isn't it true that you were disowned by your own mother for the exact same relationship you're now defending in this court?" I took a breath. "Yes. 8 years ago my mother slapped me and threw me out for loving Legacy Hayes." Gasps rippled. I continued before he could interrupt. "And that experience taught me exactly why Legacy deserves every penny of her uncle's estate. Love isn't a disqualification. It's the reason we fight." The judge allowed the line of questioning, but I turned it into my strongest argument. I described the years of guilt, the denial I had lived with, the way Mom's rejection had nearly broken me. "I denied who I was to survive," I said, voice steady now. "I won't let anyone deny Legacy what's rightfully hers." Legacy wiped tears as I stepped down. The energy in the room shifted. Even the jury looked different. During the lunch break, Mom waited outside the restroom. "You made me sound like a monster," she said quietly. I met her eyes. "You made yourself one the night you chose fear over your daughter." She didn't argue. Instead, she whispered, "I was scared. My own mother raised me to believe it was wrong. I thought I was saving you." The confession hung between us, heavy and unexpected. For the first time I saw the layers, her pain, her upbringing, the same pressure she had passed to me. But understanding didn't erase the slap. That afternoon, the judge ruled on several motions in our favor. Harlan's side looked rattled. Back at the motel, Legacy pulled me into a long embrace. "You were incredible today. You faced her and didn't break." I held her tight, breathing in the scent of her shampoo, the same one from our first night back together. That park in Austin flashed in my mind. Her smile under the trees, the way she had kissed me softly and promised we would never lose each other again. Happiness had been waiting all along. I just had to stop running from the past. The next court day brought closing arguments closer. I spent the evening preparing, Legacy proofreading my notes. "No matter what the verdict is," she said, "we go home together." Her words anchored me. But sleep brought dreams of that rainy porch, Mom's hand raised, Legacy's face in the window. I woke sweating. The secret was fully exposed now. Not just that I loved women, but that I had once denied that love to please a mother who couldn't accept it. The moral weight crushed me. How many years had I wasted in guilt? How much pain had I caused Legacy by leaving? The community judgment continued outside court. Stares at the diner, whispers at the gas station. Yet something inside me was shifting. The denial that had defined me for 8 years was cracking. I wasn't the scared girl anymore. I was the lawyer fighting for the woman I loved, and that truth felt like freedom. Closing arguments began under a storm that rattled the courthouse windows. I stood before the jury, voice clear. This case isn't about lifestyle or old town gossip. It's about a will that clearly names Legacy Hayes as heir. My mother may have disowned me for loving her, but that doesn't change the law or the facts. I laid out every piece of evidence, tying it back to the simple truth. Love doesn't disqualify anyone from justice. Harlan's lawyer countered with emotional appeals, painting us as outsiders. But the jury seemed unmoved. When the judge sent them to deliberate, the waiting felt endless. Legacy and I sat in the hallway, hands clasped. Mom hovered near the exit, not leaving. Finally she walked over. "Deborah, I watched you in there. You fought like I never did." Her voice broke. "I was wrong to slap you. Wrong to push you away. I thought I was protecting our family name, but I destroyed it instead." Tears stung my eyes. The confrontation I had dreaded for 8 years unfolded right there on the courthouse bench. I told her everything. The nights I cried in Dallas, the denial that almost killed me, the way Legacy's forgiveness had saved me. Mom listened, shoulders shaking. "I can't undo the past," she said. "But maybe I can stop repeating it." It wasn't full forgiveness, not yet, but it was a crack in the wall she had built. The jury returned after 3 hours. "We find in favor of the plaintiff." Legacy gasped, throwing her arms around me. The courtroom erupted. Harlan stormed out. Mom stayed seated, watching us. Outside, under clearing skies, Legacy and I stood on the steps. She kissed me softly, the kind of kiss that promised forever without words. "We did it," she whispered. The happiness I had glimpsed in that Austin park now filled the air. But redemption wasn't clean. That night, Mom called the motel. "Come by the house tomorrow. Just to talk." I agreed. The painful journey wasn't over. Legacy held me as I cried, releasing 8 years of guilt. The secret that had poisoned my life was now the bridge back to truth. I had denied love once. Never again. The morning after the verdict, Legacy and I drove to the old house on Maple Street. Mom waited on the porch, coffee in hand, the same porch where she had pushed me into the rain. We sat at the kitchen table like strangers who shared blood. "I was raised to believe love had rules," she started. "My parents drilled it in. When I saw you with Legacy, I panicked. I thought the town would destroy you." I listened, the slap still echoing but softer now. "You didn't just hurt me, Mom. You made me hurt her too. I left without a word because I believed you that I was wrong." She nodded, eyes wet. "I know. And watching you fight for her in court showed me what real strength looks like." We talked for hours. The years she spent alone after Dad passed, the guilt that kept her silent, the way pride had cost her a daughter. Legacy joined us later, quiet and gracious. No hugs yet, but no slammed doors either. "I'm not asking you to approve," I told Mom. "Just to stop pretending I don't exist." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand once, brief but real. "I won't." We left Willow Creek that afternoon, the trucking business now safely in Legacy's hands. The drive back to Dallas felt lighter. Legacy rested her head on my shoulder at a rest stop, the sun warm on our faces. "Thank you for coming back for me twice," she said. I kissed her forehead. The romantic peace we had rebuilt stronger than before. The past no longer controlled us. But the journey had changed me. I no longer carried the denial that once defined my life. Redemption wasn't pretty or complete, but it was mine. Mom and I still texted sometimes, awkward steps towards something new. The community judgment faded as the news cycle moved on. And every night when I held Legacy, I knew the wound had finally started to heal. True or false? Denying your true love to please family is the only way to survive their rejection?